Well, hey everybody, welcome back. And I had some problems with the audio on the front side of this clip, so I'm going to have to do it manually here. So we're going to kick things off with this episode with this cabin over here. And then shortly thereafter, we're going to head on over to what used to be the mill site. And then just down the way, there's kind of what looks to be like a warehouse. See it over there on the left? Yeah, we're going to head on over there and see what that's all about. But let's get started with this cabin. Now that's a pretty cool old cabin. You got a little babbling brook here, bubbling in front of it. Okay. Ooh. Wet foot. Let's see what we have here. Now there is, according to my map, boy, there's a lot of bugs out now. See, I told you guys, just about time it's going to warm up. Now here comes the ticks and the mosquitoes. According to my map, right out here somewhere, and it's probably collapsed, but we'll head down there and take a look. But there was an adit right there. Okay. Let's look over here first. Oh, not much going on in this room. We have what's left of an old motor here. You can see all the copper windings in it. No, I'm not seeing a date on it. Nope. Okay. Some old vacuum cleaners and a bed frame. What's left of the sink over there. Okay. Oh, it's probably was a closet at one time. All right. Another bed frame. What do we got back here? Oh, that's another door to the outside. There's a chimney. Wonder if this was built in maybe like the 50s. Look at the wallpaper there. What do you think? 40s, 50s? Oh, what do we have here? Well, it says explosives on the door. Let me reach for my flashlight. Oh, shoot. I forgot my flashlight. All right. Hold on, folks. Let me, I'll be right back. I forgot my flashlight. And old Bob. Be right back. Okay, back again, folks. Sorry about that. Sometimes I get real excited and I leave some of my equipment back at old Bob. But look here. We've got, they wrote explosives on the door. And the whole front of the door is still filled with a bunch of fingerprints. Let's look inside. Oh, it's a squeeze. There we go. There we go. All right. Yeah, definitely was an explosives magazine for keeping dynamite and such. Look up here on the ceiling. We've got a vent. That was a common practice. You want to keep your, it's saying, keep your powder dry. Let's look down here on the floor. See if we can find any artifacts. Little scraps of paper. Then we got another little vent thing. What's that? Yeah, see there? There's another vent leading outside. Well, how cool would it be to find something in there hiding? All right, let's turn around, keep looking around here. Oh, hey, there we go. Here's a scrap of paper. What do we got? Yep. Looks like part of a catalog. Let me dust it off here real quick. See what it says. $6.20 something for a, it says a similar style in bamboo elk with brown leather saddles and tips, leather soles, and leather heels. There you go. You can get yourself some fancy black and white wingtips for $6.20. What do you suppose? We're back in the 20s and 30s? Maybe the 40s? Hard telling. I'm seeing other little scraps of newspaper down in here, but not legible like he was. Cool. Okay. Well, turning back around. And what's over here? Oh, just another way through. All right. Well, why don't we work our way outside and see if there's anything left of the adit. What we have here is a spring. Well, I'd imagine at one time, let's walk out over here on the spring. Ooh, that's gushy. No, nothing left of the adit. It was probably right in here somewhere, and it all caved in. But regardless, it would have been filled with water anyways. Okay, next stop. Let's head over there to that trommel, and we've got another chimney. I'll see you over there. Okay, looks like what we have here is another mill site and another roaster. And let's see if I can do a better job explaining how a trommel roaster works than I did in what was it, episode 12, I think? Yeah, I was kind of thinking that one back then was a trommel for placer operations, but no, that was for roasting. So, okay. So what is the first and most important process when you're gold mining? Well, the first thing you're going to want to do is get the free mill gold out of your ore, okay? Free mill gold, that's gold that's already been released. It's just laying there, and typically you can get it out with gravity separation. Sometimes you can use mercury, or you can put it into a cyanide solution and put it through flotation cells, but actually that would be a step past getting your free mill out, okay? So step number 1, get your free mill gold out. Step number 2, then you're going to want to work your ore back into a roaster, like what you're seeing right here. And why is that? Because a lot of the ore, especially in Nevada, there's a lot of sulfides in it, and those sulfides latch on to the gold and the silver, okay? And you've got to free that. You got to free that bond. Well, how do you do it? You do it by roasting the ore, okay? And there's 3 temperatures traditionally that process used. It was about 350 degrees, 750 degrees, or 1350 degrees, okay? If you go any higher than that, now you're crossing over into the realm of refining, okay? And you're getting the ore too hot, and you're actually solidifying the sulfides, and you don't want to do that because then they're just going to rebond with your gold and silver, okay? So you got to watch your temperature on these things. So what we have going on here is, I would imagine at one time, I'm guessing this is going to be your inlet, okay? And somewhere out here on this concrete pad, they had a furnace of some sort. don't see any coal clinkers laying around. I doubt if they were using coal in the process to heat their furnace. This is a more modern operation, so it could have been diesel. But anyways, they're putting those hot gases into that opening there and blasting those hot gases down the trommel here. Okay, and then after that, they're going up and up the hill and out that smokestack that you see up there. Now, why did they do that? Because releasing sulfides from ore is a dangerous process, especially if your ore has arsenic in it. Yeah, you don't want to be breathing in arsenic. That's why they would build a chimney, to get it up in the air and up and out and away from the men that were working in the area. Okay. Let's look down into this thing. See if we can get a light in there, huh? Yeah. See, you notice, when you look in there, I'm going to try to get the camera in there. You notice it's lined with brick. See, it's not steel, and it doesn't have a bunch of holes. It's all lined with brick, like what you would find on the inside of like a wood burning stove. Yep. Big old modern roaster. Okay, let's work our way up here. Take a look at the chimney. Back then, let's see, it was a lot cheaper to make clay. Darn it if I can't find the words sometimes, folks. Sometimes that happens to me. Just ignore it. But anyways, you had these pipes ran out, crossed here, went down the hill, and down there to the trommel. All right. And it looks like up here, we have what's left of some sort of a mill operation. I don't know if it was, I can't really tell if it was a part of what was going on behind me with the trommel. I can see there's a grizzly screen right here, but it's all collapsed. Okay. All right. Well, let's work our way down to, let's look here. We've got some sort of a warehouse looking thing down there. Let's take a look at that. What are you doing, Mr. Lizard? Can I come up and take a look at you? There's a big lizard right there on the chain. You gonna sit still? This is a photo opportunity. That's right. There he is. I just had to stop and show you folks that. I also wanted to come over here and push on that. Well, I'll be darned, it still kind of turns. Built by the Schaefer Belt Company. Yeah, I see that look in your eye. Okay, we're out of here. All right, folks. We're headed that way to the warehouse. Okay, we made it to this warehouse looking thing with a whole lot of water pipe laying here. Look at the size of some of this HDPE, high density polyethylene. Look at the thickness on the walls there. Not good anymore, because what happens when you lay PVC pipe out in the sun like this, it gets really brittle. But we're not here to talk about PVC pipe. No, we're here to look at this old warehouse. Oh, look at that old oil heater. I've seen these before. Yeah, that's from the 50s. Yep. Okay. What do we have in here? Probably should turn Mr. Flashlight on. Sacks of ore samples. Red lode hole number 11, 20 to 25. So what that is, so they drilled a sample. They're calling it the red lode hole. It's the 11th hole. And they took this sample from the 20 to the 25 foot level. Okay. There's another sample there. It says maybe add it. I'm not sure. I can't read there. But hole number 18, taken from the 15 to 20 foot level. All right. And then we got a ghost hanging right there. No, it ain't a ghost. It's just a piece of plastic. Wow, lots of samples. Anything interesting hiding in the workbench area? Not really. Just a bunch of rat turds. Well, this makes sense. The hill that we're going to go to next is all corkscrew spiraled with roads. So that tells me what they were doing is, what they first do is they go into a location with a grader, and they grade the roads in a corkscrew kind of a pattern all the way to the top of the hill. That's so that they can make way for the drill to run up that corkscrew and take samples all the way up to the top. And here's where all the samples are. Let's look back this direction. Ooh, does it stink bad in here? Like mold. Okay. Getting excited, gold and silver in the early 2000s. Phew, boy. Oh, does this one stink. I'm not going to spend too much time in here. It's loaded with probably black mold. Ugh. And we have another one. Okay. You can only look at so many ore sample sacks before things start getting really boring. All right. Let's work our way back outside. See you out there. All right, we're back outside. And notice the size of these waste rock piles, or tailing piles. Well, at this point, these would be tailing piles, because they're what's left over after coming off of the roasting process and all the gravity separation up there. So all this ore, these big piles, had to come from somewhere, and I'll bet you dollars to donuts it's coming from up there. So why don't we work our way to the top of the hill and see what they were scratching after. See you up there. Or if I find something along the way, I'll show you that too. All right, back again, folks. I didn't have to drive too far down the valley to find the location where they were getting all their ore from. Yeah, take a look at this. Look at the size of this open pit. Wow. I know it never looks as grand on camera as it does in real life, but this is absolutely huge. Look out there, you can see the bands of silver sulfides running through that rock. It looks to me that there's still quite a bit of material left to mine here, and they just shut down. A lot of times they'll do that, you know, prices just fall out. If you can't make a decent profit, there's no sense in milling dirt if you're not making any money, so they'll just shut it down, and if prices jump back up to a decent level, then they'll get it up and running again. But this is really quite the show. Holy cow. Like the Grand Canyon here. Wow. Well, this is as close to the edge as I'm gonna get. But it looks like right down there, that's where they were bringing their trucks in and out. Maybe there's a road or something down in that location. We can get a little bit closer to look at the geology down there in those rocks, maybe up on the side over there. Let's see if we can't get a little bit closer. All right, I'll meet back up with you in a bit. Okay, we are now walking down into the belly of this open pit. You know, sometimes you just cannot get an appreciation for the size of these unless you walk down in them. Looking down onto them from up on top, looking down is all fine and dandy, but wow. Look at this. Now that's a hole. Let's get out over here to the edge. At least what looks like one of the stair steps down into this thing. I don't know if we're going to walk all the way into the bottom. I don't know if that's necessary, but let's at least get to right over here. Cool. Look at the layering. Look at all the layering in that. We got some, what is that? There's some shiny, oh, it's a little bit of a spring coming out right up here on that rock. See, that's why they don't want you down in these things. Let me tell you why. See, there's a wet spot. See, there's a spring right there that's undercutting that rock. Oh, wait, let me turn around. I just heard just my voice right now knocked off. I can hear rocks falling down this face right here. And turning back this way, see, like I was pointing out to you, I see how it, learn to talk. That's starting to get undercut, and eventually that whole thing is going to go poof and fall down. So don't by any means think that an open pit mine is safer than an adit or a portal or going into an underground mine. They even had large-scale collapses in Salt Lake City at that big copper mine there, where the entire sides of the mountain come down all in one big push. Yeah, so this is as far as I'm willing to go. I'm not gonna get anywhere down in there for fear of rock fall, and I'm not wearing my helmet, but we're at a good vantage point to take a look at some of the layering here. Let me do a 360 for you folks. See that big crack right there? There's one right there. Eventually that whole thing is going to, given enough time, that thing is going to cleave. And down it comes. There we go. Okay. Well, let's keep scratching around. Maybe we'll find something else cool to find. All right? Be back in a bit. Okay, back again, folks. All right, I lied. I could not resist. I saw something down here. I just had to look. Let me show you. Wow. Look at here. You're probably not hearing it, but maybe you can see it. There's a whole bunch of rocks tumbling right down that. We're going to stay away from the edge there. But look here. Isn't that beautiful? Silver sulfide. And you should feel the heft to this rock. It probably weighs, I'm going to say 4.5, 5 pounds. For that little tiny rock, it weighs about 5 pounds. Filled with silver. This one too, hefty little rock. That's about 3.5 pounds. And this, by going off of the rusty color it has, if it's filled with a lot of iron oxide, and of course that came from way up there where you see that one that's precariously perched right on the edge, ready to come down. That's where that one came from. Okay. Like I said, I'm not going to get anywhere near the edges of these cliffs. Let's go up here. All right. Yeah, we don't get to explore an open pit very often, do we? That's why I wanted to show you this. Head on over here. Okay. A lot of water and muck filling up the bottom. There's a nice view. Let me give you a 360. Okay. And turning that direction, there's another way out right over there. But you see that real soft looking sandy material? I'm not going to go back that direction. That's too dangerous. We're going to stay away from that. That's a potential rockfall area. So, all right. At least we did it. Back the way we came. I'll meet you back up by Old Bob. See you up there. I would like to find a mine to go into. For crying out loud. All right. Let's see what we got. Well, that's where it used to go. Darn. And as you can see, it would take a considerable amount of digging to get into that. All right, well, folks, shoot. I was hoping we could get into an edit today, but instead it turned out to be a open pit operation. See, sometimes you just never know, because you know, if you drive 100 miles to a location, it's not like you can drive there once and investigate it and scratch around to see if it's worthy or not, and then you're going to drive all the way back there again to document it. No,
No, we're not doing it like that. And I really don't want to do it that way, folks, because it ruins the excitement. It ruins the surprise for me and as well as you guys, because if I know what's coming, it's no fun. So, all right, well, I'm going to get on out of here, and I guess we'll see you folks back next weekend when I'll show you real quick. See that mountain right in front of us there? Okay, we got something on the other side of it. Well, we're going to do that next weekend. Okay, I'll see you then, folks. Thanks for coming along. And again, I appreciate all my new subscribers. Thank you so much. And always feel free to leave a comment down in the comments area. I love chatting with you guys. That's a lot of fun. Okay, I'll see you next weekend. Take care now. Bye-bye.